So if someone tells you what they think about something and they're very excited about it, but as soon as you start to ask questions, everyone realizes that maybe it won't work, it's not the best thing, there are a lot of holes, there are a lot of problems with it, maybe it's half-baked. Often half-baked is used to describe ideas that aren't supported with real serious work, a lot of thinking that have been fully developed, fully considered, right? We're going to be talking about English idioms that you can use to talk about ideas. Now, not all of these use the word idea, but we're talking about getting an idea, having an idea as a thing in itself, right? We're going to get into this and explore it a little bit. As we go through these, what I would like you to do is think about how to use them. The best way to learn something is to immediately put it into practice. So I'm going to try to give you a bit of context. I'm going to give you explanations. I'm going to say what it means, right? How it's usually used. We'll talk about some examples, but then I want you to try it yourself. You can pop that in the comments. The best thing to do is just write an example yourself and see, do I get this? Do I understand this? Okay? So let's start. Our first one is an idea whose time has come. You'll hear people say this. Oh, I believe that's an idea whose time has come. Turning my opacity to 100% is an idea whose time has come. Now, to simplify this grammatically, let's just say the time has come. That's essentially like saying this is a good time for, right? This is a good time for what? This is a good time for breakfast. This is a good time for dinner. This is a good time for a movie. This is a good time to talk about that. This is not a good time to talk about that. But an idea whose time has come feels like it's due, and this idea has been around for a long time, but it hasn't really gained popularity. People haven't grabbed onto it yet. It's been around for a long time, but now it has reached a point where it can become popular. You know, if you think about AI, for example, well, people have been talking about and working on AI for a long time. In the 90s, people were talking about it. I recently read a paper from Nick Bostrom decades ago about what was going to happen in AI. But the technology wasn't there yet. So there were a lot of ideas and people working on it, but it wasn't the right time for it to really become powerful. But you could say now, AI is an idea whose time has come. Now we're starting to see really good applications of AI, right? So it's used in particular to describe an idea that is particularly well suited to the current situation or that is gaining widespread acceptance. So people are now saying, yes, okay, this has been around for a while, but now finally I think this is the right time for that. So for example, this new technology, AI, is an idea whose time has come. The idea of electric cars is an idea whose time has come. Okay, and that means now people are willing to actually get excited about it and take it on. Okay? So that's a simple one, I think. Once you know the meaning, it's pretty straightforward to use. What is a half-baked idea? A half-baked idea. Okay, well, what would you guess? Let me give you an example maybe, and then you can see if you can guess the meaning. That's a half-baked idea. We need to do a lot more research before I think we can really proceed with this. So if someone tells you what they think about something and they're very excited about it, but as soon as you start to ask questions, everyone realizes that maybe it won't work. It's not the best thing. There are a lot of holes. There are a lot of problems with it. Maybe it's half-baked. Often half-baked is used to describe ideas that aren't supported with real serious work, a lot of thinking that have been fully developed, fully considered, right? And so you could say, right, that in the I'm going to use the tech analogy, in the early days of the internet, everyone was excited. There was a lot of hype around the internet, a lot of .coms starting. And people thought this is an idea whose time has come. But there was so much excitement, it created a kind of bubble. So it was very easy at that time for companies to get funded for huge amounts of money, even though many of the ideas themselves were half-baked. So when the bubble popped, there was this big bubble where everyone is really excited, there's a lot of hype around it. People started to realize, actually, a lot of these ideas are stupid. 80% of these are not going to work. The bubble popped because it turned out a lot of the businesses that were starting at the time were based on half-baked ideas. Now, a few were not, and they became very successful. A perfect example would be Amazon. So Amazon was not a half-baked idea. Very clear strategy, great planning, and it was able to survive through the crash of the .com bubble, right? So the half-baked idea is just a way to talk about something that's it's just not really well developed. It hasn't been deeply considered, deeply thought about, okay? Now we're going to be doing 6 of these. We've done 2 so far. We've done an idea whose time has come, half-baked idea. Now what about a stroke of genius? A stroke of genius. Now, this has nothing to do with having a stroke, okay? So put that idea out of your mind. A stroke of genius means that you get this sudden flash, and maybe you don't know where it comes from, or you get this inspiration to solve a problem, and you were stuck on it for weeks, and now you know the answer. And it doesn't have to be absolutely sudden, but it usually is a big and important thing that fixes it or causes a breakthrough. And it could be used in daily life, right? I recently used this when I was making waffles. So nothing world-changing about waffles. But I realized, I thought, hold on a second. We don't have any maple syrup for the waffles. That's a problem because dry waffles are gross. Well, they're not gross, but it's different. I want to have maple syrup on my waffles, right? That's when I had a stroke of genius. I realized that I did have honey and I had some other ingredients that I could use, including maple flavoring for a cocktail thing I have. There's some cocktails and there's some maple flavoring for that. And I thought, wait a second, what if I actually mixed some of the maple flavoring with honey? I should make my own maple syrup. It's not going to taste exactly the same, but what if it's good? I tried it. It worked. I mean, it didn't taste exactly like maple syrup, but it was pretty good. So I had their stroke of genius. Now, it doesn't have to be a flash or sudden realization, but the key is that it solves something, right? It's an idiom used to describe an idea that is particularly clever or original. So the emphasis is not on its suddenness necessarily. It's on how clever it is, right? That was a stroke of genius. I never would have thought of that. Whoa, honey and maple flavoring? Crazy. I never would have thought of that. A stroke of genius, okay? I mean, it's usually used for more important things than waffles. But waffles are important. And if you say waffles are not important, I can't take you seriously. Waffles are very, very important, I would say. How could you not think that, right? How could you not? Now, sometimes we get things that are a little more sudden, right? An idea that's good, that's clever, but that comes suddenly. This is where we might say a light bulb moment. And sometimes we also say, and this is going to be our other one, so let's say these are two separate ones, a Eureka moment. Okay, so we have a light bulb moment and a Eureka moment. And let's say these are pretty much the same. A light bulb moment, this is used to describe an idea or insight, maybe clever, that suddenly comes to mind. Whew. Oh. Suddenly occurs to you. The emphasis is not on that it's clever. It is, of course, probably. But it's that it suddenly comes like a flash of lightning, like being struck, right? Oh. I was trying to think of a way to improve our product, and then I had a light bulb moment. A light bulb moment, and came up with the perfect solution. I had a light bulb moment. So light bulb here is being used as an adjective, and it's also being used here as an adjective. And this is the noun. This is the noun. Okay? Whoa. Something suddenly occurs to you. Same thing for Eureka moment. I think the difference between a light bulb moment and a Eureka moment may be simply in the, let's say the connotation, the way it feels to say it, right? It often feels more like the excitement around it rather than the suddenness of it. It is sudden, right? It's used to describe an idea or insight that comes to mind, to your brain, suddenly and unexpectedly. Out of the blue, we could say. Out of the blue. And in that sense, it's the same as the light bulb moment, but the Eureka moment is the feeling of excitement that accompanies the light bulb moment. And again, they're the same, it's just a different emphasis. You get a light bulb moment, you just got it, but it doesn't tell me how you feel. A Eureka moment is sort of that, whoa, I just got a great idea thing, right? I believe it comes from the story of Archimedes, who he was thinking about a problem for a long time, and then he was in a bathtub. He jumped out of his bathtub, and he started just shouting, Eureka! 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 Right? So you were working on something, and then you had, just like this, a Eureka moment. Now, we do, when we have these realizations, just say Eureka. Sometimes you can yell out, Eureka! When you have that sudden flash of insight, right? I could have said that about my waffles, I suppose, but nah. I don't know. All right, one more. And this last one that we're going to talk about is also common, but it's a different relationship between the person and the idea. And this is a brainchild. A brainchild? That happens to Zeus while we're on the subject. Zeus has a brainchild, and the brainchild of Zeus is Athena. The goddess Athena is born from his head and represents part of his intellect. So that's technically a brainchild. So generally, brainchild is used to talk about an idea, maybe an invention, a project that someone really cares about, not just an idea, but maybe an actual project that's happening or a thing that's being made, but it's based on an idea, right? That is the result of usually one person's specific creativity, right? And so we're focusing on the fact that this person is special and they created this special thing. It's their brainchild. Now, it can be used in a negative or positive sense. Like if a team is working on something, but if it's one person's brainchild, then that can create some awkwardness because they feel like they should have total control, but actually it would be better if a group of people were all just working on it. Yes, but it's my brainchild. Well, we might say it's his brainchild, so he feels like he's the one who should be in charge. Actually, just because he thought of the idea doesn't mean necessarily he has all of the best solutions for how we actually make this thing, right? But sometimes it can be used in a positive way to really just create a relationship between the thing, the idea, the project that's based on the idea, and the person. And usually there's this relationship of, it's special to me. I care about it. It's important, this project. I love it in a way. So that's usually how it's used. So this product is my brainchild. I came up with the idea. I developed it. Now, I don't know if you would say that, but if you want to make it clear that it's important to you, you wouldn't just say, I did this, I made this. You would say it's my brainchild. And that could come across as somewhat arrogant sometimes, but it can also tell people that it's very important to you, right? This channel, it's my brainchild. It is very important to me. I created it. I want it to do well, and I want it to be useful. It's my brainchild. I don't say that with arrogance. I'm just telling you my relationship with that, okay? So, the best thing you can do at this point is to take these and put them in your own examples. I gave you examples and explanations for each one. What you can now do is try them. Output is the key to actually learning, because if you have output, it kind of burns it into your brain. It's like doing homework, right? And it makes it a habit. That way, when you're having a conversation, you don't need to think too much about, what was that phrase? A flash of brain, what was that? You don't have to do that because you've already practiced it a few times. You've made 2, 3, 4 examples, and that's what makes it a habit, okay? We talked about a brainchild. We talked about a Eureka moment, as well as the light bulb moment. And you do have to use moment. You can't use second or something like that. We talked about a stroke of genius. A stroke of genius. We talked about a half-baked idea. And we talked about an idea whose time has come. And I feel that all of these are relatively easy to use. But if you have any questions about any of them, let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to read the examples that you have, try it out, see if you can use it. Again, I'd love to see your examples. If you haven't already done so, you can hit the like button, subscribe or follow, and also you can get a free course in the links in the description. That course is Natural English Conversations. Grab that free course. That is in the links in the description.